With the release of Reckoning for Black Ops 6, we finally have the complete Black Ops 6 Zombies experience. And I'm going to just say it. I was pretty whelmed for most of the game. I thought it had a pretty strong start, but the last half has not been up to the expectations set by the first half. I have been playing Call of Duty Zombies for years, and when BO6 was announced, I thought we were getting a pretty big step forward. And when it launched, I thought we were there. But as time went on, Black Ops 6 Zombies has just been a letdown. And today, we're going to go into why that is, how we can fix it, and we'll rank the maps too while we're at it, because ranking's always fun. So let's get into it. Now, I don't want to just dogpile on the game because I do think BO6 Zombies is an enjoyable experience, but I don't think it's one that Zombies fans want. I think it is a very Warzone-ified Zombies experience in the same way that Cold War was, and while they did make a lot of strives to make it more of a classic Zombies experience, I feel like now it lives in like two worlds where you're getting this mix of Black Ops 3 and Cold War, and it doesn't really pick a lane to go down. And now I think it's worse than like both of those games because it doesn't really feel like it has an identity because you're getting all these cool maps, but then it just gets bogged down by the Cold War gameplay and them not wanting to fully commit to either going classic or modern. It is a very just awkward place for the game to be in, and it makes it one of the least enjoyable ones to play because as time went on, nothing really changed. There was no add-ons. While the maps were cool and are unique compared to the Cold War ones where it was just facility, 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 and then reused multiplayer maps. So I think a lot of the problems with Black Ops 6 stems from it just needs to pick what it's going to be. It can't live in two worlds anymore. It needs to either go full modern or full classic. And if I was going to pick, I would just pick classic. That's just me personally. I enjoy the gameplay more. And if they wanted to fix it, here are some of my gripes with it. If I was going to remove like one thing from this game, it would be no tac sprint. I don't know why since Modern Warfare 2019 that each game has needed to have tac sprint. I thought Cold War movement felt pretty great because you just sprinted. There was none of these awkward animations, and now with tac sprint they have to balance around it. So you get these faster zombies in there that'll just come up out of nowhere, and if you're not fully ready to go back into tac sprint, you're just going to get caught on zombies and it's not a fun training experience. So like part of the fun of zombies is feeling like you're in control of them. In this game, you do not feel like you're in control of the zombies. You do not feel like you can manipulate the AI in a way that you want to, which is a lot of the fun of previous zombies experiences was getting to understand the way the zombies works. Whereas in here with the tac sprinting, it all just feels all over the place. I would just completely get rid of it in Black Ops 7. And from leaks so far, they might be. I'm really crossing my fingers because that would at least get the movement away from this war zone. Because tac sprint does make sense in Warzone. You know, it's just a little short burst to get to where you need to go, slower to get your weapon ready. It's fine there, but keep it out of zombies. My next big gripe with the game is the point system. I do not think that the point system introduced in Black Ops 4 and further developed in Cold War has been good at all for any system in the game, especially with the way things are getting more and more expensive with the three-tiered pack-a-punch. You can get as many perks as you want. I just don't think this point system is holding up because let's say you're falling behind your friends. You finally get all your perks. You guys are ready to go on the boss fight. Boom. You get downed, you lose most of your perks. That sets you back like 12,000 points. And if you want to get both guns that you have fully pack-a-punched, that's 100k points. That is absolutely insane amounts for where you can't even point farm in this game because SMGs and all the ways that you got points in the old games, they don't work the same anymore. And you run out of ammo so much, and in this game, you can buy ammo wherever. So let's say that you wanted to pack-a-punch. It's honestly better to just let your gun ride out instead of pack-a-punching because the ammo is just going to get more expensive and you're not really going to get that much of a buff to make it worth it to get the pack punch whenever you could just be saving up points. I think the points economy in the entire game needs an entire rework. I don't know if the old point system would transition well in here, but I think it's worth taking a look at and maybe developing something that is like a hybrid between the two. Honestly, if you're going with the new point system, I think BO4 was the best iteration of it. It's not my favorite point system, but it's kind of a nice middle ground where shotguns can be useful for points, but SMGs still have that point farming mentality and weaker weapons do. So I think if you were going to keep the point system, there should at least be a way to share points, because a lot of the times at the end of the game, whenever you all are preparing to go into the boss fight, somebody is just killing zombies. They have nothing else to spend their points on, and they are just racking up like 100k in points, while the people that really need it are still sitting back. And I know this problem with the group and whatever, you need to work it out, but I just think the game design needs to steer away from those situations even happening in the first place, because I don't really feel like, in my experience, in older games, whenever you were running up to do like Horizon, I felt like everybody was around the same area in points. But that also goes into another thing with, in old Easter eggs, a lot of the gameplay was very team focused, where as in Black Ops 6 and in Cold War, I felt like a lot of the Easter eggs have been very solo oriented. I want to be able to complete the Easter egg solo, but I feel like some of the steps should change, if they even do in this game, because a lot of the times one person can do the entire Easter egg. In my experience, I'm always the one doing the Easter egg. Everybody else just runs around. I know people can learn the Easter egg and everybody can do it, but the game doesn't encourage that. It honestly, and sometimes faster, to just have one person go off and just do the entire Easter egg while everybody else just prepares for the boss fight. But the person who's doing the Easter egg sometimes is then left behind and doesn't have enough points to be ready for the boss fight, so everybody just has to wait around. It's not really that fun. I think a lot of the times the Easter eggs should be more team focused, but I do think you should keep that solo element. But they did that in the old games, you know? So, like, why can't they do it here? The armor system, I would just get rid of it. It hasn't worked in any of the games that armor has been a mechanic, all the way even back to World War II. It's not a good health mechanic. It just racks up and racks up. And if you're relying on an RNG based thing for health, especially in BO6, it's not a good mechanic. Cold War, it was okay. During the initial BO6 gameplay, I was enjoying it more than Cold War, but eventually I just found myself needing an armor plate, needing an armor plate. I didn't want to spend points because, going back to the points thing, my points were already stretched thin, saving up to get both my guns to Pack-a-Punch Tier 3. So I think armor just needs to go. Just tone the zombies' hits down to where only a few can hit you at a time. Keep it to that classic 5-hit down experience if you have Jug. It was fine the way it is. If it isn't broke, do not fix it. And if we're on the topic of getting rid of things, I would just get rid of salvage. It doesn't really add a lot to the game, and it just adds more currency on top of things you're already doing. I think everything should just be handled with points, because I know a lot of my friends who aren't really that big into zombies. They'll hop in, they haven't played since, Black Ops 3 or 2, and they're already hit with rarities. They're already hit with Tier 3 pack. Then you throw in salvage to upgrade your own guns and all these other things. It's just too much at once. Zombies was better when it was simpler. But I do want to say, if they did want to keep salvage, I would just keep it for crafting lethal grenades. Like if you wanted to swap to Semtex halfway through, or Molotovs, or build you a Tomahawk. I think that system is great. But what I wouldn't have them craft is score streaks and tactical grenades. Now, throw in tacticals. Back in like Black Ops 1, one of the coolest things was whenever the first time you loaded up Moon and you hit the box, there was an entirely new monkey grenade, the Gersh device. It was so cool. It was only on Ascension. That's such a cool thing. It adds in more map variety and uniqueness. Because whenever you think of the Gersh device, you think of the maps that you can only use it on. However, in like Black Ops 6, everything's on every map. The Casimir mechanism, or whatever it's called in Black Ops 6, the Gersh device ripoff. You can just get it on any map. You can just save up enough salvage and get it. There's no hitting the box or anything involved to either craft it or get it. You just have to save up, and then it's on every map. I think if you just got rid of crafting tacticals and kept it to only lethals, then you could throw them in the box, have monkeys on one map, maybe a different tactical grenade on another, and then it would add more variety and more reason to play just this map. And it would make that map more unique. Because I think a lot of Black Ops 6's problems is the further you go in the lifespan, the more the maps feel the same, because not much is changing between them other than the setting, because the gameplay mostly stays the same. Rarities just need to go. Pack-a-punching a gun is fine enough for upgrading it. I know why rarities are there. It's for loadout weapons, but that's a whole different thing I'll get to here in a minute. Rarities just, like I said, they add more complexity to the game, and for people who aren't familiar with the rarity system from other shooters, it's bogging down and adding way more on there than there needs to be. You need to trim the fat. Whenever we say we want content, we want actual meaningful content and things to go for. Upgrading your gun with the same process in each map is not the same as setting up in like a Black Ops 3 map where every map has a completely different setup process. Whenever the setup process is purely getting your gun to gold in tier 3 pack, it's the same in every map. Nothing changes there. And I think that adds a lot to the replay value whenever each map has a completely different process of setting up. And then I would actually keep score streaks, but like I said with the tactical grenades, I would keep it purely to map specific things. Like imagine on Terminus if you actually got to craft the mutant injection. I think that would add a lot to making it more fun and more unique if you couldn't just use it on every map, because now every single map high round can just be used by spamming the mutant injection. It's like a get out of jail free card. It's on every map. It would just be so much cooler if it was only on Terminus and you actually had to do something to get it instead of it just either dropping randomly or with the salvage crafting it. I think there needs to be more there to go for rather than just upgrading your guns and getting the wonder weapon. Like on Liberty Falls, you could repair a radio and then you could use a chopper gunner on a cooldown for the rest of the game. I think stuff like that to go for would help so much in the long run for the game's longevity. Lastly, for my general gameplay gripes, we still have the loadout weapons. I know a lot of people like to be able to bring in their own gun, but that does come with its problems that is present with a lot of the gameplay and the fun of zombies, which is the mystery box and wall weapons. So usually you start a game of zombies, you have just the starting pistol or whatever the starting weapon is of the map. It's typically the weakest, but there's also fun things like you can keep it and pack-a-punch it, and sometimes it'll turn into this really cool, powerful weapon like the Mauser turns into the Boomhilda or the 1911 turns into the Mustang and Sally. That stuff is cool, but it's a risk because you have to keep this incredibly weak weapon until you're able to pack punch. And in the case of the Mustang and Sally's, it'll hurt you, but it's worth it unless you can get PhD. Now, if you're able to bring in your own weapon, that removes a lot of the grind and the fun of the early game, which is you can go into the map and you kind of have like this idea of a weapon that you want. So like typically on Black Ops 3, I load in, I'll want like the Dingo or the Brecci or the Haymaker, one of those three. If I could just start with them, that removes an entire aspect of the game, which is hitting the box. So the mystery box is a pretty big component of zombies, but in Cold War, Black Ops 3, and like Vanguard, who cares about using it? Why would you even think about using it whenever you could just bring the weapon you wanted in? And I know, a lot of the times you can only craft one of the wonder weapons, so most of the time in Black Ops 6 you're just hitting the box for the wonder weapon. You do not care what comes through the box between the time that you start hitting it and when you get the wonder weapon. It doesn't matter what weapon you get from the box. You're just going to throw it on the ground and keep the weapon you started with, because that's the weapon you wanted to begin with. Completely ruins an entire aspect of zombies, and it just needs to go. The loadout system needs to go, because also nobody's buying wall weapons anymore. Why would you even think about buying a wall weapon whenever you could just bring that in? It's like, oh, the MP5's in the next room. Who cares? You can just start with it. Honestly, there's not much bad I can say about Terminus, and I don't want to say anything bad. I think a lot of my problems with Black Ops 6 is the maps not having a unique identity, but given that Terminus was the game that introduced Black Ops 6 as a whole, I hold a lot of Black Ops 6 mechanics to this map, and I found Black Ops 6 to be a very, very strong zombies game at launch because of this map alone. This map is honestly one of the best launch maps we have ever gotten, period. It is so much fun. The size is fun. The number of side Easter eggs in this map and the amount they can help you either set up or just do fun things, that should just be the standard for every single map going forward. And my only gripes with the map come in the form of the boss fight. I know a lot of people like this boss fight. I find it to be a bullet sponge mess. I don't really enjoy the gameplay of it or the arena, but the design is so cool that I hate that I don't enjoy the gameplay, which is something I can say for a lot of the bosses in this game. Terminus gets 2 thumbs up from me. This is one of the best launch experiences we've ever had. On the topic of launch experiences, let's go into Liberty Falls. I know a lot of people don't like this map. I'm not personally a big fan of it, but if you do look at it through the lenses of comparing it to the other bonus launch maps, 5, The Giant, or Cold War didn't even have one, I think the level of content here is pretty good. Now, while I do prefer The Giant and Classified as maps, they do not hold a candle content-wise to what you can get in this game. This map has a full Easter egg, a returning wonder weapon, and so many side Easter eggs like Terminus. I think that is one thing that Black Ops 6 absolutely nailed, was the side Easter egg department was just Treyarch having fun, and I wish you could see that in every other aspect of the game. But where Liberty Falls does fall short is the Abomination is not a fun enemy to fight. It wasn't really that fun in MWZ. It wasn't really that fun in Forsaken. It's not that fun here. I'm glad it was just relegated to this map, and I do not think that the vibes of the map really give across the zombies vibes. It definitely feels like you're just playing zombies in a multiplayer setting, but Blanchard's pretty fun. You get some pretty cool story revelations in this one. Not anything like super crazy, but it was pretty good for a bonus map, so I'll give it that. This is Black Ops 6 at its peak, quite literally. This map uses a lot of the unique elements that we talked about for Black Ops 6 as a whole, because Black Ops 6 lets you use a dedicated melee weapon. It doesn't take up a slot. So the wonder weapons in this map are just 4 melee weapons. They don't take up your 2 weapon slots. You can keep them in your back pocket and use them. So the problems I had with this map, which some of them did get fixed, was at launch of the map, the wonder weapons were really fun, but you could only kill 1 zombie at a time with the sword. It didn't really feel that rewarding to use, and you honestly were just encouraged to use your normal weapons, because until your swords were charged up, they were basically useless, and you had to run the melee macchiato modifier to even hit more zombies at once. And I don't think forcing a perk on you for a wonder weapon is that good of a design choice. They eventually did fix this. It now kills, I think, 2 in 1 swing. This should have been something that was seen in playtesting. I don't know if they had playtesting. I know how Activision is, but they were not really that fun to use on their base versions to begin with. But the designs are dope, the quests are fun, and that's all you can really ask for other than the actual gameplay of the weapon. S tier in that department. The boss fight in this map is one of the best boss fights, if not the best, that Treyarch has ever done. It is such a well-designed boss where the look of him is the coolest thing we've gotten since a Chaos boss fight, and the gameplay actually is fair in a challenging way. It's not you're going to beat him on your first go. You can, definitely, because you can learn his attacks and his patterns, and he isn't really that big of a bullet sponge. I think the first time I went into this boss fight, I had maybe a tier 2 backed weapon. It could have been tier 3, but I think we were all just done at that point. And it was a fight, but it was a fun fight. Instead of just running in a circle and shooting him until he's dead, he was constantly after you. You're constantly engaged, but you felt like you could do something to avoid taking damage. There wasn't a lot of zombie spam or boss spam in the actual boss fight, and it's just a good time. This is definitely one of the best, if not the best, boss fight they've ever done, and it's without a doubt the best boss fight in Black Ops 6. The only problem I have with this map nowadays is I do not find the actual Easter egg to be that enjoyable. I like getting the swords, but after that, it's just kind of just stand in the 3 red circles or whatever, and that's basically it. It's a fine quest, but I definitely think they could have done more in that department because this would have bumped it up to being one of my top maps of all time if the actual Easter egg quest was enjoyable for me to do. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just not up there with the greats. This is where me and Black Ops 6 started to not get along. I didn't really enjoy the layout of this map. I didn't like the design philosophy that they said before this, where it was kind of more Liberty Falls inspired, where it's a smaller, more focused map. And I get it. I can understand that Liberty Falls is your most played map, but you also have to understand that Liberty Falls is a super casual map. How many of those people are actually staying to play zombies and engage with actual zombie systems, or are they just using Liberty Falls as a map to grind weapon XP and camos to use it and look cool in multiplayer and Warzone? So the Tomb reinforces those design philosophies that I think Liberty Falls introduced, and it was fine in Liberty Falls. It was a bonus map, but the Tomb is one of our DLC maps. This is one of the main maps that pushes the story forward. The Liberty Falls gameplay design does not fit here. The simple map layout, the simple wonder weapon, which is a returning wonder weapon, big nostalgia bait there, bringing back the ice staff. So like Liberty Falls, it was cool because we had the jet gun back, but it wasn't really the jet gun. It functioned completely different. It was basically a whole new wonder weapon. Here, it's just the ice staff. I definitely feel like they wanted to do like a full Origins thing. I think that's what was set up in Citadel. I think it would have just been better to do maybe an ice staff inspired weapon that was new and unique and still had some of that lore attached to it. And the Easter egg in this is also just pretty bland and boring. It's kind of the same thing for me as Citadel. I don't really enjoy the quest, and here I do not really enjoy the boss fight. The artifact boss fight is fine, I guess. It's just bland, boring. I don't enjoy the arena or the gameplay. Kind of has, it's not as bad for me as Terminus in terms of bullet spongy, but in this map they have the doppelgasts and they just spam those in the boss fight. And that's how I feel mostly about the Tomb, is it's just a pretty annoying map to look back on. It didn't really push the envelope on what BO6 could offer, and that is probably its biggest downfall. Now, Shattered Veil, I didn't really play that much until here recently, and I've seen it get a lot of praise, and personally, I just don't see it. I do like the aesthetic of the map, but like I was saying earlier, none of the maps really gameplay-wise feel that unique because of the way that Black Ops 6 is just set up. So whenever I played it, it kind of just felt like the previous maps I've played, just in a new area. I don't really like the wonder weapons on this map, and whenever I did the Easter egg quest, I can't say I was having the most fun. I think that's a big problem with BO6 so far, is that I cannot think of a single Easter egg step that I am just so excited to do. Most of them are just pretty and forgettable, and you're really just working towards the boss fight rather than having fun doing the actual Easter egg. Again, same thing as last map, the boss fight. I am not a big fan of the T-Rex boss fight. I think the design is awesome, just like in Terminus, but he has way too much health, and I do not like the way the arena is laid out. I find it to be a very annoying training path, especially if you get 4 people in there. There is nowhere to go that you're not going to run into somebody. I might get a lot of hate for this one. I know Shattered Veil is a very well-received map by most of the community, but for me, it just doesn't feel different enough from any of the other BO6 maps for me to really hold it in this high regard as other people do. But I do enjoy the aesthetic, and I do think it's better than the Tomb and Liberty Falls. The final map, The Reckoning. The path Easter eggs. There's 2 final bosses you can either fight, spoiler alert, Sam or Richtofen, depending on what ending you want to go for. There's 2 different wonder weapon upgrades. Once you do one, you're completely locked out of the other, because I'm not going to spoil it here, but what you do in those quests is pretty cool, and it's cool that you are locked out of one for the rest of the game. Now, I don't really know which one I prefer, and I do think they need a buff, but I like where this map is going for now, at least in terms of the Easter egg department. I think the Easter egg quest is probably the best that they've done quest-wise up until this point. I found the Easter egg quest to have actually a little bit of substance, and there's a little bit more to do, and some of the steps were pretty fun. I liked the flower step to open up the secret room. That was a lot of fun. I do not enjoy the flow of this map at all. I think this map is proving to me that vertical maps can almost never work in zombies. Obviously, it did not work with Die Rise, and I do not think it works here. I think going down the towers is nice and smooth, but going up it's not a fun experience, especially if you're playing with people that don't really know the map, and you get down on a tower. Good luck even having them come revive you at all. Like in other maps, you can figure out where to go just by looking in their direction. You're not going to have that here. And they do try their best, but I don't really enjoy portal gameplay between the maps, at least the loading screen ones. Now, if it was a little bit more seamless where you walked in one and immediately popped out the other in real time, probably would flow a little bit better to me, but the constant little cutscenes and breaks really just ruins the pace of the game for me. This map, I like it better than Shattered Veil and the Tomb, but it still doesn't really hold a candle to the other ones gameplay wise. The Easter egg here, I would say, is definitely the best that they have put out in BO6. Now, the ending, that's a whole other thing. Whether you enjoy the original characters coming back or not, I think it is a little bit of fan service, and I think it leads into my next big gripe with the game, because I just don't really see where they're going, and I don't really like the nostalgia bait that they seem to be pulling. I could be wrong. This could end up being one of the coolest things they've done, but as of now, it just feels like they're trying to get some of the fan base that they lost back, and for good reason. So, if I had to rank the maps, I'd probably go worst to best. Worst one's the Tomb, Liberty Falls, Shattered Veil, Reckoning, Terminus, Citadel. Terminus and Citadel are pretty equal for me, but the Citadel boss fight puts it over the line for me. If you ask me tomorrow, I could probably say the other way around, but those 2 are definitely the best. The rest are just kind of all jumbled up. I don't want to sound too negative. I do enjoy Black Ops 6 Zombies as a game. It's a fun game to play, but I feel like if you're buying this game for $70, you deserve to voice your opinion for it to just be a little better. The foundations are there. It just needs a little bit of a push to get back where it needs to be, because for a lot of the times, the zombies community has definitely been on the back burner, so it would be nice to feel like we're actually seen, and it's not just a mode to grind camos in, but actually a mode to play. It used to be about surviving, and now it's just about killing and getting camos and exfilling whenever you want. I think there's a lot that can be done to fix it, and I hope they do in BO7. I would love to play a new classic zombies experience and not just hop on BO3 customs for the rest of the year. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they do something, but right now I'm really doubting it.